So let's begin with the session, value-added course on ethical hacking. This is the fourth and the final session. I think you all have attended the last three sessions. The first session was conducted by Chintan sir. The second and the third session was conducted by Sampath sir. Okay. Can anybody tell me what was taken in the first session? Email spoofing and phishing attack. Okay. And what about the second and the third session by Sampath sir? Okay. So F crack and basically password cracking and rats, I think. Okay. Remote access Trojans, I think, right? Okay. So those two are like, the major scenarios where hacking is possible. Okay. But as a web developer, okay, so my area of focus will be slightly different than the other topics. In my area, it will be more like how to secure your web applications. Okay. So I will be focusing more on the how to resolve that particular issue rather than how to to teach you how to hack. But it is obvious that to understand any attack, you have to first know how that attack is done. Okay. So that's why we will first see what those attacks are, and then we will also see how to safeguard your app from those kinds of attacks. Okay. So let's begin. Okay, because this we have only 2 hours in our hands, so I will try to cover both all the three techniques. Okay. So the first thing that we're going to see is SQL injection. Okay. Has anybody heard about SQL injection? Okay. Can anybody tell me what it is?
So it is basically the querying in the password and username fields that you drop the entire username and password tables.
Okay. Okay. Or anyone else? You can unmute and speak. That is exactly correct, Fahad. Injecting malicious query. Okay. So that is what basically we are going to learn in this particular course, that how SQL injection happens and how we can protect our app from it. Okay. So let's begin. First, I will show you how it happens, and then I will show you how you can protect your app. Okay. So let's begin. Okay. So the first thing that I would like to do is first set up an environment where I can test, I can show you what a website where you can try to attack. Okay. So there may be many websites online where you can attack, you can practice your attacks. That is hack my site, then hack.me. So like that, there are many websites, but I don't prefer using those websites, but I would prefer to use something which I can host on my local server to study. Okay, so what I usually prefer is, there are two apps that I like. The first one is DVWA. Okay, so it's called the damn vulnerable web application. So it is purposely made vulnerable so that you can practice uh, your code, practice your hacking techniques, and you can safeguard your apps. Okay, so all you have to do is go there and download the zip file. Okay, so you can see it downloads, it goes to the GitHub website and it downloads the zip file. Okay, so that will download something called as master.zip. Okay, so that zip file you just unzip, and then you will need a server to host this. Okay, so what I am using here is Laragon. If you have XAMPP installed, you can use XAMPP. If you have WAMP, anything will do, but I am using Laragon. Okay, so in the Laragon, you just have to go to www folder, and you just have to paste that DVWA folder inside this particular www folder. Okay, and you can see the all the code of the DVWA. Okay, and that's it for the setup part. Okay, then all you have to do is click on Laragon. Okay, and click on start all. Okay, so as soon as you click on start all, the Laragon has a feature of auto host. Okay, so in that case, if you go to preferences, menu preferences, you can see auto virtual host is added. So whatever is your folder name, okay, so in my case it is DVWA. To that, at the end, if you add .test, that website will open. Okay, so this is a feature specifically for Laragon, and if you are using this, then this will be very easy. But if you are using XAMPP, then you have to set up a virtual host yourself and host it. Okay, so that you have to do it. But if you use Laragon, then that particular step is removed. Okay, so once that is done, now the only part left is open that website dvwa.test. Okay, if I open it, you can see it, this particular page opens, and this is the second time I'm opening it. That's why it is coming to this particular page. But actually it is, when you open it for the first time, it will open this particular page, setup and reset database. Okay, so when this happens, what you have to do is you have to first set the what do you say, database settings over here in the config file. Okay, so where is the config file? You can go to www.dvwa, and you can see somewhere, okay, here in this folder config, you can see config.php. Okay, so you can just open it with any editor, and you can come over here and put the server, that is localhost, the database name DVWA, password of your database, and sorry, username of your database and password of the database. Okay, in a local environment, nothing you need to change, everything will be proper, you don't have to do anything. Okay, so if you're using Laragon, then you don't have to do anything, and directly come over here and click on create and reset database. Okay, so as soon as you do that, now you can go back, and you can see that if you go to DVWA security, right now the setting, because I was using it before, I set it to low. You can set it to impossible. Okay, by default it will be impossible. Okay, so you can set this. Okay, let me just see. Okay, okay, so it is impossible. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is, let me just, so these are all the attacks that you can train on this particular website. Okay, so if I go to, let's say, SQL injection, let me see, is there any problem? Okay, so this page opens. Okay, so now as such you will not find anything suspicious in this particular thing. Okay, so basically this is like a page where where you can just enter the ID of the user and it displays the details of that particular user. Okay, so for example, if I put 1 and submit, you can see it returns the ID, that is 1, the name of that particular user, admin, and surname as admin. Okay, so now this looks pretty normal. Okay, so there is nothing uh, great over here. Okay, so now let us see what is the source of this particular code, what is exactly happening. Okay, so if I click on this button, it will show me the source of this particular so this is written in PHP. Okay, so if you look at it right now, what is the just let me just check again, DVWA. Okay, so I said so I changed the security level to impossible. Okay, so then in that case it is not possible to hack. Okay, so basically there are 4 security levels if you want to train. Okay, so the low means you can easily hack the website. Okay, there is no security measures at all. Medium means there is slight security measures. High means there is very good security measures, but still it is possible to hack. And impossible means not possible to hack at all. Okay, so let us try, because we will not be able to try everything, so we will try the lowest one first. Okay, you set the setting to low and let's see. Okay, it is saved. Now let's go to SQL injection. Okay, and you can see, let me just try an ID. It gives me the result. Let us check the source code and you can see what is the source code. Okay, it's very simple, straightforward code. I will explain you this, but it is not important to understand what is how you write the PHP code, but it is basically the query that matters here. Okay, so if you look at this, how this actually works is basically this particular variable, okay, is basically taking the data from the form. Okay, so if you look at the address over here, if you look at the address, whatever I enter over here, let's say I enter 2 and press submit, you can see what happens to the address. The address becomes ID is equal to 2. Okay, so basically whatever I enter over here comes over here. Okay, so that is very important to understand. And let us now look at the code. Okay, so basically that request I am taking, getting the request, which variable I'm taking out, which query parameter I'm taking out, ID. Okay, so from here I'm taking out this particular section. Okay, and then I am saving it inside ID. Okay, so now basically this variable $ID has a value of 2 right now. Okay, because here it is ID equal to 2. So now this variable has ID equal to 2, and now in this case this is the query that I am executing. Okay, now for some of you you may not be aware of database. Okay, let me just copy it onto a text file and show it to you. Okay, so this is the code basically, right? So I'm getting the request ID, saving it inside this $ID. Then I'm running this database query. Okay. And this database query is very important because basically what I'm doing is I'm doing the select command, and I'm selecting 2 columns, the first name column and the last name column. From which table? So from users table, and where I'm going to, if I do not use the where clause, then it will return all the users. Okay, so I don't want all the users. I want only users where the user ID is equal to that particular ID. Okay, so that this particular ID I get it from here. Okay, so let's suppose you enter ID is equal to 2. Okay, so what happens is this $ID will be equal to 2. So now in this query, this becomes 2, right? So this query looks something like this, okay, after compiling. Okay, so select first name, last name from users where user ID is equal to 2. Okay, so till here everything is perfect. There is no problems over here. But the problem comes because what if the user does not enter 2? If he enters something completely different, okay, so that is where the problem arises. Okay, so that is where SQL injection comes into picture. Okay, so let us see what user enters to create this particular SQL injection problem. Okay, so the problem here is the single quote. Okay, so this is basically the problem. Okay, so this, when you put it, then this is what creates the entire SQL injection issue. Okay, so now how does this create an issue? Okay, let's see. Okay, so when I put ID equal to 2, I don't have any problem. Okay, but let's say I change the query slightly. Okay, so instead of this, the user enters, instead of 2, the user enters this. Okay, so I put a quote, and after that I put something else. Okay, so in the query I am just putting a single quote and 45. Okay, or anything. Okay, it is not important what I put after the quote. Main thing is the quote is there. Okay, so single quote you have entered. Let's come back and put it over here and press submit. Okay, so as soon as I do that, let's see what happens. Okay, so as soon as I do that, this error occurs. Okay, and whenever on any website you find such an error after putting a quote, that simply means that it is possible to attack that particular website. Okay, so why is it like that? Okay, that is because just let us see how this is affecting the query. Okay, so let me just copy this. Okay, so this is what user has entered. So that is right now inside ID, and here that particular value will be replaced. Okay, so if I replace that value, just look at what happens. Okay, so everything is fine till here everything is fine. Okay, but look at this quote starts, then immediately the quote ends. Okay, because of this particular quote. And in SQL you should always remember, whenever a quote starts it should always end. Okay, so obviously this is starting and this is ending. Okay, so that is correct. There is nothing wrong in it, right? But the problem is, uh, if because of this particular next quote is now orphan. Okay, so it doesn't have a closing tag now. So that is what is creating the entire issue. Okay, so now what happens is the SQL is not able to process the, what do you say, the statement because of this particular extra quote over here. Okay, so what can I do? So now I have identified that this particular website is vulnerable. Okay, so because of this statement I can understand that this is vulnerable. So now what I can do is, now I can run something over here which will give me more data about this particular system. Okay, so now how to do that? It's very simple. I want to write a query over here in such a way that this entire where clause is always true. Okay, so right now this where clause is true only when user ID is equal to whatever is the number entered. Okay, so for example, if the user enters 2, so whenever user ID is equal to 2, this query will return some results. Okay, what if I write some query or some changes over here which will create everything as true? Okay, so that particular statement is very important for understanding how this particular attack works. Okay, so basically it starts something like this. You start with a quote, then if you have studied DLDA or logic gates, then you know what is an OR statement. Okay, so OR means if any one of the input is true, then the entire output of the system will be true. Okay, so that is what the or statement does. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put an or condition in the SQL itself. Okay, so I'm going to put a quote, then I'm going to put an or, then I'm going to put something over here after that, which is always going to be true. Okay, so can anybody tell me any condition where it is going to be always true? Can you tell me what is this? What will be the answer of this? 1 equal to 1 or 2 equal to 2 or 3 equal to 3, anything. It is always going to be true. Okay, so that means this particular statement is always true. It does not matter what is before or. Okay, whatever is before or, okay, so that will not matter because this particular statement is true. So the entire statement becomes true. Okay, now to finish off the statement, I will add one more or over here. Okay, and then I will just close it. Okay, in fact, I need not even do this. I just do this and it will work. Okay, so this is what I'm going to put. If I just copy this and there are many ways of doing this. This you can try anyways. So I'm just doing this. Okay, if I press submit, I may have to do some trial and error. Let's see. Okay, so this works. Okay, so you can see what has happened. So because it is 1 equal to 1 and you got the entire data, uh, everything is true. So it is basically giving you all the users that are there in your system. Okay, so basically from here, you don't even know what is inside the database, but just by running this particular query, you can see that everything, whatever is stored in the database, uh, you can see on the screen. Okay, so there are you can see 1 2 3 4 and 5 users are there. Okay, so admin, Gordon, Hack, Pablo and Bob. Okay, so these users are there, but I don't think this is of any help for us. Okay, because it is only showing you the first name and the surname. Okay, so this is not going to help in any way to us, but this is just a part of the SQL injection. Okay, but I will show you one more thing that I was trying to develop before I continue with this particular discussion. I would like to show you, I was preparing this thing, but I didn't get time to finish it. Uh, I was creating a dummy blog, same like DVWA, so that people can hack this particular blog and see. Okay, so I will just open that particular site and show you. Okay, so again, this is the website. Okay, so it's basically a blog. What I wanted to do was to implement login form, sign up form, and then the comments, etc. Okay, so only admin can comment, admin can create a new blog, all these things. Okay, so but now let me show you what happens if I go to login. Okay, so now I have an account. It is shibu@gmail, and the user password is password. Okay, so if I sign in, it logs in. Okay, so you can see instead of login sign up, it says log out. Okay, so that is absolutely fine, but the problem here is it is vulnerable to SQL injection. Let's see how. Okay, so let me just log out of here. Now you are a new user and you don't know the account details. Okay, so what you can do is you can put anything over here. Okay, any email address or anything. Okay, so let's me test@gmail.com. Okay, it doesn't matter what this email ID is. And here, instead of the password, because I don't know the password yet, right, I'm going to put this. Okay, so if I put this and sign in, you will see what happens. I'm automatically logged in. Okay, without even doing anything. Okay, That means I did not enter the username correct, I did not enter the password correct, but still I am inside the website. Now how is this possible? Okay, I will show you. I will show you the show the query here itself, and I will show you the login query also. Okay, so here you can see, I will explain you how this thing is affecting the query. Okay, so here it was $ID, right? So this is the query. Okay, so user has entered this particular query string. Okay, now uh, how this hack works. Okay, so I will copy this, and instead of ID I will paste it over here. Okay, so now look at the statement that is happening. Okay, so we are concentrating on the where clause, where, so first condition that I'm checking is where user ID is equal to blank. Okay, so there is nothing inside it. So where user ID is equal to blank, so this will always fail. Okay, so this, it is not important, this will fail, right? Look at the last statement. This is again or, but there is no condition, so forget about that. But look at the center condition. It says 1 equal to 1. So out of these three conditions, 1, 2 and 3, you can see one of them is always true. Okay, so this will result in this particular entire where clause to be true. If entire where clause is true, it will return everything. Okay, so it is as good as this where clause is not there. Okay, so it is as good as is where clause is not there, and now the query becomes select first name last name for from users. Okay, so this makes the attack possible because of this. Okay, now obviously this is not we want. Okay, so now in many of the cases, if you try to log in with this particular or clause, it will not work. But then there are other ways to, you know, find out the details also. Okay, now I have created a cheat sheet for you, uh, because we have less time to cover. I have created a cheat sheet which you can refer. I will share it in the Moodle. And if anybody is interested to know how this entire thing works, I will explain you that also. Okay. But first, in this particular session, I will just show you what actually I'm trying to do. Okay. So you can see this particular statement, uh, and I will click submit, and let's see what actually happens. Okay, so you can see what actually happens is it runs the query and it tells me what are the different databases that are available. Okay, so in this case my target is to find out what is the username and password. Okay, now to find out the username and password, you have to first find out what is the name of the database. Second thing that you have to find out is what is the name of the table. Okay, and the third thing you have to find out is what are the names of the columns. Okay, if you are, if it is very simple, it will be username and password. Okay, so that the name of the fields will be username and password, but some intelligent developer may keep it something different. Okay, so for that it is very important to identify three things. First one is the name of the database. Second one is the name of the table where the username password is stored, and the third thing is the name of the columns where the username and password is stored. Okay, so for that, these are the queries that I have prepared. So the first one, if anybody requires, I will explain it in the next session of how this entire thing works. Otherwise, there is a shortcut. I will explain you that. You don't have to worry about any of these queries. Okay, so let me just now from here you can see in the surname field, you can see I'm getting the name of the database. Okay, so there are four databases: information schema, Binod, DVWA, and MySQL. Okay, what I'm interested is in DVWA. Okay, so let me run the second one. Now this is for finding out the tables in DVWA. Okay, Now here you can see the same query executed, and it is telling me that there are always forget the first and the last result. Okay, so that result is not important. Remaining results is what is actually your result. Okay, so it shows that there are two tables, guest book and users. Okay, so these are the two tables that are there. Okay, now we know the database name is dvwa. The name of the table, out of this you can predict where your users data will be stored, right? Obviously it will be in the users table. Okay, so now two things I know. The next thing that I need is the columns, name of the columns. Okay, so next part, again I will run the same query again, and you can see it shows me again, leave out the first and the last one. Other than that, all the other data is what we need. Okay, so it has basically these columns: user ID, first name, last name, user, password, avatar, last login, failed login. And from all these column names, you must have understood which two we need. Okay, so basically we need this and this. Okay, so once we know what we need, the last step is to get the username and password. Okay, so I will copy this, and you can see what has happened. Okay, so now it has given me the username colon the password. Okay, now this is not the actual password, this is the hashed version of the password. So now you have to unhash it. Now unhashing is not that easy, but obviously there are websites like this. Okay, so I can open that website and take any of the, let's say, take any, let's take this one, Pablo. Okay, and we can try to decode what was the hash. Okay, crack hashes, and it tells me the password is let me in. Okay, so this is how you can identify what was the what is the password that the user has entered. Okay, so now you know the username is Pablo and the password is let me in, that is this hash. Okay, now you can go and log into the system. So that is how this entire SQL injection works. Okay, now obviously this is all technical. You will not understand right now. All those who have completed database, for them it will be easy to understand what is this union command. For others, this union command will be completely new concept. So that's why I'm not explaining this. But if you still feel that you need to you want to understand what is this, you can just put it in the chat box in the next in the start of the next session, and I will explain it to you. Okay, okay. uh, any queries still here? Do you want me to explain how I got this? Okay, cool. So I will quickly explain this, what exactly I'm doing over here. Okay, so basically what you have to do is you have to understand how MySQL works. Okay, so basically every database is different, but currently in this particular case we are using MySQL. So I will show you what MySQL database looks like. Okay, so in internal structure, and after that you will understand a little better. Okay, so you can see this is the MySQL database where I'm using in Laravel. Okay, so you can see these are the databases that are there. Okay, so the first database is test. Okay, the test database is created just for testing purpose, so it is not used as such. Then there is a internal database called MySQL. Again, we don't touch it. Then there is another database called information schema, which is also an internal database. Again, we don't touch it. and other two databases, Binod and DVWA. This is what we have created. Okay, so this is where all our data is, right? Now the problem is this names we don't know. Okay, so the user who is browsing your website will not know all these things, right? But a hacker will know that there is always a database called information schema in MySQL. Okay, whether you have created additional databases or not, but this particular table database information schema will always be there. Okay, so what is this information schema? Now information schema is like a master database where everything is there. Okay, so it will have the list of databases that are there in your database. It will also list, okay, it will also list how many tables are there inside the database. It will also list how many columns are there inside that each table. Okay, so this is like a master database. Okay, if some way I can get inside this particular database, then I can get the structure of the entire your server. Okay, I will not get the data, but I can get the structure. Okay, so let me just show you what I mean. Okay, if I just open information schema, you can see there are lots of tables inside this, and what I'm interested is in this particular table that is itself called tables. Okay, so this table is also called tables. Okay, so if I press this, you can see if I go to data, you can see what is there. Okay, so this columns, these are the column names. Okay, so there is a column called table schema and there is a column called table name. Okay, so this table schema is where the name of the database is stored. Okay, so you can see there is these different databases, information schema, then Bino, then DVWA, then MySQL. All this that we can see on the left side is also there on inside this particular table. Okay, and inside each of them you can see this particular column, that is table name, which again tells you what all tables are there inside that database. Okay, so in DVWA there is guest book and users. Okay, right? So this is how you get the database name and the column name. Okay, so if you look at the query that I have shown you, what now, first of all, this union command, it is basically to join two queries together. Okay, so the one query on the left is the actual query that the programmer has written. Okay, and the query on the right is what the hacker has written. Okay, so what the union does, union will join both of them together and it will show the result together. So what it's doing, just see, it is selecting two columns, uh, because I don't want any other column. That's why I'm just selecting one over here. You can put any number over here, it doesn't matter. Okay, so I'm just putting one, and what I'm interested is in this particular column, table underscore schema. Okay, so what I'm selecting, this column, table underscore schema, from where? From the database information underscore schema. So from information underscore schema dot, which is the database inside that, sorry, which is the table inside that. So information underscore schema dot tables. Okay, so this particular part is the database. Okay, this particular part is the table. Okay, so now unfortunately the name of the table is itself tables. Okay, so you don't get confused. So this is the database, this name, and this is the table name. Okay, and this is going to remain fixed for any MySQL database. Okay, so that's why this query works for any MySQL database, right? Similarly, once I run this query, what happens is I will get all the schemas. Okay, schema means this particular row. Okay, I will get, sorry, this particular column I will get. Okay, so what I will get is I will get DVWA, Binod, information schema, MySQL. Okay, so all this I have got. Next query, what I'm doing is, instead of Now I want to concentrate only on DVWA, right? So just look at the next query. So I'm selecting this time table name and not table schema. I'm selecting table name from the same information schema dot tables, but here I'm adding a where clause because I don't want the entire database. I just want these two rows. Okay, so this row and this row. Okay, so for that I'm adding a where clause where table schema, that means give me those rows where table schema is DVWA. Okay, so their table schema is DVWA, and once I do that I will get users and guest book as the answer. Okay, now once I have that, now I don't have any other information in this particular table. Okay, I had two information, database name and table name. I have got all those. Now what I need is column names, and if you come over here, uh, here, okay, so you can see this particular table, its name is itself is columns. Okay, so if I open this table, you can see it is showing me the table schema. Okay, so here the table schema is there, and if I just go down little, and if I go down further, and I didn't find a DVWA. Is there? You can see DVWA. Okay, so inside this you can see, look at these three columns. Okay, so the first column is the name of the database that we know, that is DVWA. The second column is the table name, that also we know, that is users. Okay, and the third column name is what we want. Okay, so these fields give the column names, okay, of that particular database. Okay, so let us see what is the last query. So the last query to get the columns is select column name, that is this name, column name, from information schema dot columns. The database is the same, but the table now has changed. Okay, columns where table schema is DVWA. So that means this particular column is DVWA, and table name, that is this particular column, is users, because we are interested in this particular table only. Okay, so once I do that, I will get these fields. Okay, so whatever user ID, first name, last name, user, password, avatar, last login, failed login. So these things we get. Okay, so now from here we understand that, okay, so the important fields where sensitive information is there is user and password. Okay, so the last query simply does one thing. It simply concat is basically joining the uh, user and the password together with a colon. Okay, so it is like string concatenation. Okay, so this is an internal command. You could have written user over here and password as the second field also, it is not an issue. Okay, and then you are just doing a select from DVWA users. Okay, so DVWA, again, always remember, in the from clause, the first is the database name, second is the table name. Okay, like over here, this is the database name, this is the table name. Similarly, we know that DVWA is the database that we want to target, table is users. From there I want to get this two columns, user and password. Okay, so once I run this, I will get all the users with their password separated by a colon like this. Okay, and once I get that, then it is pretty simple. Use this website to find out the hash. Okay, now this was about uh, how this particular attack happens. Okay, so now let us see how to you know, protect yourself from such kind of attack. Okay, so let me just show you the source code. And the main reason why this attack is possible is because you are not sanitizing your variable. Okay, so that is very important in web development. That is, whenever you take any input you're taking from the user, you have to sanitize it. Okay, now this is not the sanitizing that we do in our homes. This is slightly different. Here basically you are trying to test whether has the user entered anything malicious. Okay, so that is basically a simple procedure where wherever there is codes, okay, if the user enters codes, see why this hack was possible, because of this code. Okay, so basically if this code is not allowed, then this hack is not possible, right? So all I have to do is escape this code. Okay, so now how to escape it? Now in different databases this will be done in a different way. In MySQL you can do this. Okay, now there are other ways also, but who will manually go and escape these things one by one, right? So for that, PHP or whichever programming language you're using, there will be a command to escape the input values, right? So I will show you how it is done. Okay, let me just increase the security to impossible. And let me go to SQL injection and view the source. Okay. Okay. So in this particular method, this is the impossible way of hacking. So this is what I use in all my applications. This is called as a prepared statement. Okay. So instead of directly inserting the variables inside the query, I use something called as prepared statement. In prepared statement, what happens is you write the query completely. Okay, then you insert special characters which will be replaced later. Okay, like for example in this particular case you are using this. Okay, colon id. Okay, and now you can see how that id is getting replaced. Okay, so you can see bind param. Now this id will be replaced by $id. Okay, so this is what it is doing. And one more thing you can see, it is also doing something called as, it is only going ahead. That means that variable is now being checked. Okay, now it is a user id, so how can there be strings inside it, right? So that is where you have to add validation also. Okay, now there is one more thing, one more method that I would like to show. I forgot on which, I think it was in Medium. Let me try that. Yes. Okay, so this is what I used to use before. Okay, so there is a ready-made command in PHP which is called MySQL real escape string. Okay, so what this does is it if the user has entered quotes, it will escape it. Okay, so that this particular thing can also be used. I used to use this before, but once you start using frameworks like Laravel, then you will no longer use this. Okay, this still can be attacked, it's possible. Okay, any doubt still here? Okay, so there is one question from Faiz Ansari. Does SQL injection work only on HTTP or HTTPS both? It works on both. It doesn't. It has nothing to do with the transport layer, or basically the protocol through which it is delivering the data. Okay, it is the vulnerability of the server. Okay, it has nothing to do with how it is transferring the data. So whether it is HTTP or HTTPS, SQL injection is possible. Okay, so before I finish this particular topic of SQL injection, I have explained you two methods by which you can actually, what do you say, solve the problem of SQL injection. The first one is a simpler one. Simply escape it like it is done over here. Okay, use this command uh, to all the variables that is coming from the user. Okay, so if it is coming from the user, you have to escape it. Okay, or else, like in the impossible setting, you have to use prepared statements. Okay, so now that you will come to know, or you will understand it better once you know learn some frameworks or something. It's there in PHP also. You can use PDO for that. Okay, so that feature is there. Okay, now before I wrap up this particular SQL injection topic, I would like to show you one more thing that is very interesting. The reason why I'm showing this is because you can automate this thing that I have done. Okay, so right now you have seen that I have run these queries manually. Okay, so these queries I've run manually and got the results, right? But this can be automated. Okay, you don't have to run any query and you can check for SQL injection directly. Okay, so for that there are two softwares that you can use. I will show you both of them. Okay, one is basically a very famous software called OWASP Zap. Okay, so this is that software, OWASP Zap. So you can, this is an open source software. You can download it and install it. It's pretty simple. uh, just double click on it, and once OWASP starts, this is basically like a proxy server. And what a proxy server does is it comes in between you and the server. Okay, and it records everything that you do, and then once it records it, it can try to redo the same thing with different parameters. Okay, I will show you what I mean. And also I will show you another very important feature why most of the professionals use this software. Okay, so but for the time being I am more interested in SQL injection. So I will be showing you this thing using SQL injection part. Okay, so right now I am using the proxy feature only. Okay, so if you look at this software, you can see this particular button over here, which opens the browser with the proxy pre-configured. Okay, so the proxy address is shown in the at the bottom. Okay, so you can see primary proxy localhost colon 8080. Okay, this is the proxy. You can obviously use it. You can go to Chrome and set this up manually, but you don't have to worry about that. You can just click this button and it will do it for you. Okay, so you don't have to worry about configuring your browser for that. Okay, so once you click that, just wait for a few seconds and it will open the browser. And this is specifically configured with Zap. Okay, that is Z attack proxy. And now let me just open this website dvwa. Okay, dot test. This is the website that is vulnerable, right? Let me just open it, and it has opened. Let me log in, admin, and password is password, and click on login. And I am in, right? So that part is done. Now, if you look at this, what is happening, if I come back to the proxy, let me just take this to the side and bring the proxy up. And if I go to history, you can see it is recording everything that you are doing in the browser. Okay, so let me just show you what I mean. Okay, so let me just go to SQL injection. When I click on this, just look at what happens over here. Okay, so if I click on this, you can see it is recording everything. Okay, so basically the page opened is vulnerabilities.sqli. Okay, so you can see this is the page vulnerabilities.sqli. Okay, so let me now enter something over here. Okay, first let me just decrease the security to low, otherwise it's not possible to hack. Okay, so now it is low. Let me go back to SQL injection, and now let me enter 1 and submit. Okay, now as soon as I submit, everything worked properly. Now what I'm interested is, let's come back and come over here. Okay, and let's find out. Okay, let's look at this particular result. Okay, so let's open this now. Why I am opening this? Because this particular address, if you look at it over here, this resembles to this. Okay, so that is what I want. This is the place where it is vulnerable, right? So I'm going to right click and open and resend this with request editor. Okay, so this is what I want to find out. Okay, so the things that I need from here is this particular address, which is the place where I'm going to attack. Okay, and I also need this. Now you may ask, what is this? Now this is the cookie. Okay, now in the next attack that we are going to see, that is XSS, there we are going to do something called as session hijacking. Okay, so in that, this is what is hijacked. Okay, so now what is this session cookie? Whenever you log in or whenever you authenticate, as soon as you connect to the server, a cookie is created on your browser. Okay, on your window, and this cookie is used to uh, to authenticate that it is you. Okay, that it is you that is logged in. Okay, if anyone has this cookie, then he can also log in for that particular amount of time. Okay, so let's say I log in right now, and somehow some hacker gets access to this number. That means now he also has access to my account. Okay, so this number is very important. Obviously this is stored in my computer, so unless some attack is there, it is not going to leak. Okay, so let's suppose somebody so now what I'm going to do is, so all my required data I have got. Now there is another software for doing SQL injection. Okay, so let me show you that. That is, the software is very famous. It is called SQL Map. Okay, just I have downloaded from the GitHub page. You can also do the same. You can go to sqlmap.org and download the code, unzip it, and then just right click and open with command prompt. I'm opening with git bash. Okay, all you need is this. Okay, so once you have that, you just have to have Python installed. Okay, so I'm hoping you will be having Python installed. Okay, then you just run this sqmap.py. Okay, and to get the help, you can just do -h, and if you enter, you will get all the options that are there. Okay, so I will show you what I'm going to do. Okay, so the first parameter that I want to give is the URL to which I want to attack. Okay, so for that, the URL, I can copy it from here. This is the URL that I want to attack. Okay, so let me just copy it, paste it over here. Okay, and close the quotes. It should be inside quotes. Okay, so once that is done, next thing is I want to provide the cookie. Okay, because this URL is protected. Okay, it is accessible only after logging. Okay, if you don't login in, then this particular URL is not accessible. Right now, obviously I don't have a UI over here to log in, right? So I will simply use this cookie to log in. Okay, now how to use that? I will just do cookie and open the quotes and copy this entire contents from here and paste it over here. that will be my cookie. Okay, so that will be my cookie. So I have put u minus u, I have put cookie. Now the last one is add a proxy for debugging purpose to see what exactly is happening. Okay, so and the proxy we know it is the zap proxy that we want to use. The proxy is http localhost 8080. Okay, so I will just add that http colon localhost colon 8080. Okay, close it. And now now there are different commands. So this particular entire statement is fixed. Okay, now the remaining things changes based on what you want. Okay, let's suppose first of all I want to find out the list of databases that are there inside this particular software. Okay, so for that the command is dbs. Okay, so double dash dbs. If I press enter, it will run the uh, query, run the code. And if everything goes proper, if the cookie is proper, it will show me that how many databases are there. Okay, so you can see all these databases are there. Okay, so this actually my other server is started, I think. So that's why it is taking that particular result. Okay, now let's find out how many. So now we know which table I want. I want DVWA, sorry, which database I want. I want DVWA. Okay, so now let's set the database as -d DVWA. Okay, and now let us get the tables inside DVWA. So that for that I will add double dash tables, run the same command again. It will go and run the queries and find out what are the tables. And it has perfectly told me that there are two tables, guest book and users. Okay, one thing to note is you can see what this Z attack proxy is doing. It is recording everything that is happening. Okay, so whatever this SQL map is doing, it is sending it to you, right? It is recording everything. Okay, so now I know that there is DVWA table, sorry, database, and inside that there are two tables, users and guest. I am interested in users, right? So let's run the same command. This time I will set the table as users and let's get the columns. Okay, so you can see what I'm doing. I'm trying to do the same thing that I did using a query. Okay, the same thing that I did using a query, I am doing it now with SQL map, and SQL map does it, very easily. Okay, so now let us run and find what are the columns. Just wait for it and you can see it gives you exactly the same thing: user, avatar, failed login, first name, last login, last name, password, and user ID. Okay, that's it. You have got the column names. Now you want the entire this thing we have done only to get the username and password of the users inside this particular app, right? So for that, the final command that we are going to run is dump. Okay, so remove the columns part. We know the columns, and now I'm just going to dump everything. Okay, so if I run this, you will see a wonderful thing that it does. This is a feature of SQL map. Let it just finish. Okay, so it has finished. Now just look at it. It has produced the result in a tabular form. Now because I've zoomed in, that's why it is looking a little messy, but you can see, you can understand from here, this is user ID, that is one, username is admin, then there's avatar, that is image, whatever that is. Then look at the password. Okay, so it has given me the hash. This is the complete hash. and in the brackets it is also giving me what is the password for which this hash is. Okay, so just look at it, how wonderful this is. Okay, so again this is the hash and the password is abc123. This is the hash for which is this user. This user is 1337 and his password is Charlie. Okay, so next user is Pablo. His sorry, password is let me in, and we have checked this with the website also, crack.in, cracknet. Okay, similarly Smithy has password. Okay, so you can see how wonderful this particular software is if you want to test SQL injection is possible or not. Okay, so any doubts still here? I will wait for some questions. Are there any questions before we move on to the last topic, that is CSRF and XSS? Okay, so I think there are no doubts. Okay, no queries. Cool. Okay, so the next content or the next attack that we are going to see is, now SQL injection is done. Now we are going to see something slightly different, and that is going to be CSRF attack and XSS attack. Okay, now these both things go hand in hand, and I will, in this I have 5 minutes left, so in this 5 minutes I will first explain you what these attacks are, and in the next session I will show you a live demo of how these attacks takes place and how to uh, safeguard yourself from it. Okay, so what is basically CSRF? Okay, CSRF is nothing but cross-site request forgery. Okay, so you can see from here, cross-site request forgery. Okay, now what this particular attack does is, now in this case, you think that your form is secure. Okay, or basically whatever form you are trying to send, only those parameters will be there inside the form. Okay, now that is completely wrong. Okay, now usually what happens, I have seen some students, what they do is they rely on the contents that are coming from the form. Okay, they think that whatever is coming, I have only put, that means the developer has only put and it is valid, and they insert inside the database. Okay, but that is completely wrong. I will tell you why. Okay, I will just right click this. Right now you can see there are two fields, password, confirm password. Okay, and if you right click over here and do inspect element, okay, and let me just, okay, let me just increase the height of this. Okay, and you can see this is the form. Let me open the form, and you can see that inside that there are two input elements. Okay, and the best part is, in any browser you can just right click and edit as HTML. Okay, once you have this, this is the best part, where you cannot trust the page directly. Okay, so let me just add something over here. Okay, text area, right? And here I will say, let's say name as, okay, now once that is done, I will come out and you can see that text area is now added. Okay, so now what happens is, now it doesn't make any sense here, but let's suppose there is a register form. Okay, and in the register form, I was actually interested in showing you a demo, but unfortunately I couldn't finish the app. But let me show you what I mean. Okay, so this is the users table that I was creating. Okay, so in the registration form, you can see there are three fields that I take from the user during registration: name, email, and password. It's very simple, right? And uh, there is another field called is admin. Okay, this I'm not taking during registration. It is by default 0. Okay, let's assume that the developer is relying on whatever data is sent by the browser. Okay, in that case, what I can do is I can come to the registration form and add a new checkbox which will make admin as 1. Okay, and when I do that and press submit, a new entry will be created with whatever name, email ID, and password is selected, and is admin is 1, and it automatically gives that user the admin rights. Okay, if that is implemented. Okay, so that is the major drawback. That is what I wanted to show, but I couldn't complete it because I had a lot of other work. Okay, so that is the basic funda of this. So that is one way of changing the request. Okay, now the another way is let me just refresh it. Now in this particular case, let's suppose this particular page, what it does is it changes the password. Okay, change password of whatever whoever user is logged in. Okay, so let's suppose I change it to temp 123, confirm temp 123. Okay, so this is my password, and let's click on change. And as soon as I click on change, look at the address bar. What happens? Huh? I pressed change, and it says password changed. And look at the address bar. You can see the address bar has password new is equal to temp123, password conf is temp123, and change equal to change. Okay, now the best part is just copy this, and you can save it anywhere. Okay, you can create a link, or you can let me do one thing. Create a new text file, index.html. Okay, I've created a new file, and let's open it with, let's say, Sublime. Okay, so I opened it with Sublime, and let me make a simple anchor tag. And inside that anchor tag, let me just put href, and inside href I'm just going to uh, paste the link. Okay, save it and close it, and now open the page. Okay, so I have this uh, link that I can click on, right? And I have this particular page. Okay, so now let me just change my password. Okay, so I have already changed my password, right? So now, okay, sorry, I was in this page. So I have already changed my password. Okay, so now how this attack happens is, it this CSRF attack happens along with XSS attack. Okay, so I will show you the XSS attack also, but before that, let me just show you how this particular attack works. Okay, so let me just open this, and you can see whatever password you want to change. Okay, whatever new password you want to put, you put it over here. Okay, so let me put it over here, hack. Okay, control C and hacked. Okay, save, done. Okay, done, and close. So now I have the page open. So now if I click this, it runs that particular link, and that changes the password to hacked. Okay, so now you may think, sir ye link pe click karega kaun, right? है कि नहीं, how will anyone click this link? Okay, so that is where XSS comes into picture. Okay, so I will show you how that particular link will come into picture, but before that let me show you what happens right now. Okay, where is the page? This is the page. Right now, my current password is temp123. Okay, so let's log out. Okay, so if I try to log in, admin temp123, click on login, and it's in, right? It's logs in perfectly. Okay, so now once you're logged in, somehow you have to make the user, whoever is logged in, click on this particular link. Okay, so now obviously nobody will click this link unless they do it unknowingly, right? So I have already told you for that XSS is used, right? So let's assume that we have used XSS and the user clicks on this link. Okay, so let's click on this link, and it says, okay, sorry, I am in the wrong page. Okay, so I have to open this over here in this Z attack proxy. Okay, so let me open it over here, and now here I will click this particular page and let's see what happens. Okay, so it says password changed. Okay, now whoever is a user, he does not know what has happened. Something has gone wrong. Obviously, if he's a bit intelligent, he can see the link from here and he can find out what is the uh, whatever was the link. Okay, whatever is the password that the hacker has changed. Okay, but if once we use XSS, nobody will be able to know what was the password that was used. Okay, so I will show you that also, but now let us try to log out and try to log in with the same password, temp123. Okay, so username admin, temp123, login. Obviously it doesn't work, login failed, right? But if I do it with hacked, it logs in, right? So now the question is, why would anyone click the link, right? So that is where XSS comes into picture. Okay, so now the CSRF part, you have understood that the link can be retried any number of times. Okay, so whenever any particular user clicks, so this particular link that was generated, that was inside this, that we have copied, that can be reinitiated, and every time the password changes. Okay, so then what is XSS? Okay, now let us go to XSS attack. Now XSS is stored, sorry, forget about the stored part, cross site scripting. Okay, so this X is for cross. Okay, so cross site scripting. Now what is this? Okay, so in this particular case, what you're trying to do is you are trying to put some code, mainly it is going to be JavaScript code, or some other type of code which is not a standard text, and which creates problems to the software itself. Okay, so that type of code will create a huge problem if you're not programmed it properly. Okay, so I will tell you how to resolve these issues later, but first let us see what is XSS. Okay, so this form is pretty simple. You can see cross-site scripting. This is basically place where people can come and put their comments over here. This is where the attacks are possible. Okay, so let's add test. Sorry. Okay, so hello from Shibu. If I do sign guest book, you can see what happens. That particular text, whatever was there, is now added onto the message. Okay, so even if I refresh, okay, so if I go back to XSS stored, that is still there. Okay, so this is stored in the database now this will not be removed until a clear guest book is done. Okay, so now let us see how XSS is possible. Okay, so let's do test again. Okay, anything will do, but here instead of doing a simple message, an attacker will do something like this. He will try to put a JavaScript code over here. Okay, so I can say okay, so I have just written alert hacked hahaha. Okay, so if I click sign in, you can see it says it pops up this particular content. Okay, now let's now it is stored also. Okay, this is stored over here, you cannot see it but it is stored. Okay, if I just go back to XSS stored again, every time I open I will get this message. Let me try to open it again. See, so every time you open you will get this message. Okay, so that is the problem of XSS. So you can keep on adding such messages. In fact, you can create e-bombs with this. Okay, you can create such pop-ups which will pop up continuously and create problems for your users. Okay, so that is also possible. For that you can use something called as on error command. Okay, with the image tag. But if I do that right now, then it will be, I have to reset the database. So if time permits, we will do it at the end. Okay, so let me just clear the guest book first. Otherwise every time that hacked message will come. Okay, so once it is clear, now let me show you how that the link that we copied, that will be clicked automatically without even the user knowing it. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, so test, and here I'm going to put an image tag. Okay, I'm going to put an image tag, and inside the source tag, the image tag very well. So inside the source tag, what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the code from here. Okay, so let me just open it and take this entire string which changes. Okay, so now here I'm going to put this. Okay, and just for visibility, actually you should not put anything else, otherwise it will be visible. Okay, so once this is done, you can simply do sign. Okay, so now one thing that you notice over here, I have pasted this entire thing, but it is not pasting it completely. Okay, the reason is this text box has a limitation of characters. Okay, now the problem again here is that this text box is limited by the developer through the client side only. Okay, so that means I can just right click over here, go to inspect element, and you can see the max length field is defined as 50. Just change it to 500. This increases the size, the amount of data that you can paste. Now if you paste it, now the entire thing is pasted. Okay, so now let's click on sign in. Now the data is stored. Okay, now you may think what has happened, right? So can you see this square box has appeared? So this box has appeared, that means that particular link, that whatever we have put, that has been executed. Okay, so basically what is happening is, in the image tag, whatever link you provide, that is downloaded by the browser. Okay, and unfortunately the hacker, what he did is, instead of putting the link of an image, he put the link to that particular URL, okay, of changing the password. And because of that, img tag does not know what is happening. It just tries to request it, and whoever is logged in, his password is changed without him ever knowing it. Okay, so all they have to do is go to XSS. Whoever user comes in and logs in, as soon as he goes into XSS, once this image request goes, his password is changed. Okay, so now you can see there is no need to click any link or anything. Just by that img tag in this particular post, you can see how this attack is possible. Okay, so the user doesn't know what has happened. He's thinking, okay, I have I have just looking at the guest book. Once he logs out and then he tries to log in, his account is gone. Okay, his password is changed. Okay, obviously this type of problem doesn't affect much, because obviously you can reset your password. Nowadays every website has that feature. But then as soon as the password is hacked, the the hacker can log into your system and do some major changes, like create some bank transactions or whatever is possible. If your credit card information is stored in your that particular app, then that can also be used by the hacker. So all these things are possible. So that's why this XSS attack is very important to understand. Okay, uh, another thing that is possible is doing session hijacking. Okay, so let me just show you that also before we finish this particular session. Sorry, before this particular topic, session hijacking. For that, I have already explained you that the application, whatever, where as soon as you log in, I will just show you. Let's go to the inspect element, go to the application tab. Okay, here, let me see, service factor. Okay, sorry, it is in storage. Okay, in Chrome it is in application. In Mozilla, this is Mozilla browser. Okay, Firefox. In Firefox it is in storage. Okay, so in storage you can go to cookies and this particular dvwa.test, and you can see this particular cookie set. Okay, so as soon as you open the website, this particular cookie is set, and the hacker needs this particular cookie to get into your account. That's it. Okay, now how does the hacker get this particular cookie? Okay, so that is what we are going to see now with the help of XSS attack. Okay, so to get a that particular cookie, it's very simple. I will just do again some message. Okay, and here first of all, let me just do an inspect element and change the size to 500 so that I can enter big data. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a script. Close the script, and here instead of doing alert hacked, this time I'm going to do something different. I'm going to run alert document dot cookie. Okay, alert document dot cookie. Let's sign in and let's see what happens. It gives me my cookie. Okay, so whatever cookies are set, it gives me that. Okay, so obviously I can copy this and I can use this to log in. Okay, I will also show you how to log in with this particular cookie, right? But before that, now the thing is, if I do this right now, whoever is logged in, only he will be able to see his cookie, right? So if I press, if let's say I am logged in, okay, so if I click on this, XSS stored, because of the second message, it will always pop up this particular message. Okay, but it is not useful to me. Okay, as a user, this data should go to the hacker. Okay, it is right now not going to the hacker, it is just popping up to the user. Okay, so the user is able to see his session ID, and I don't think there is any use of that, because user already knows his password, so there is no need for this, right? But if somehow I can send this data to the hacker, matlab, if hacker can get this data, then that is where, you know, this hack becomes extremely important. Okay, so let us see how that is done by the hacker. Okay, so for that I will just first of all clear the guest book, otherwise these things will keep on happening. Okay, so next let us see test, and here instead of, sorry, okay, I added the script, right? And here what I'm going to do is, here I'm going to create a variable, let's call it img. Okay, and create a new image. This is a JavaScript command for creating a DOM element. Okay, so this you must have learned it in your HTML course. If not, this is not important how you create an image, but just look at the syntax. Okay, so I've created a new image, and in this image I'm going to set the source of that particular image. Okay, sorry, I forgot to change the size. Let's put it as 500, and now I can write type. Okay, so I will put the URL as something dot, or sorry, plus, in JavaScript it is plus to join two strings, document dot cookie. Okay, so I'm taking the value from the cookie and I'm adding it to a URL. Okay, so this URL I have not yet prepared, so the hacker will prepare this, sorry, HTTP. The hacker will prepare this URL. I will show you how this URL is prepared. Okay, slash index.php colon, let's say ID equal to cookie. Okay, so this is now created. Okay, so what exactly is happening is, this particular website I have to create now. Okay, now this particular website, what it is going to do is simply whenever this hacked website sends a request, store it. That's the only purpose of the new website that I'm going to create right now. Okay, it's very simple to create this. Okay, so this is like a data collection center. Okay, so this is going to simply collect your data, whatever is sent by the form. Okay, so let's see how to build that. Okay, let's go over here, create a new folder. Okay, so test app, and let's open it in Visual Studio Code. Okay, so I will create two files. First one is, let's say, index.php, and the second one is session.txt. Okay, so the session.txt file will have all the cookies, and index is the page which is actually going to read those cookies. Okay, so let me start the PHP code, and inside this code I'm going to run a single command, nothing else. Okay, so the command is file underscore put contents. That's it. Okay, and you can see it is asking for three things. First one is the name of the file. Name of the file is session.txt. Then what content do you want to store? Okay, The content I want to store is coming from the website, which is in this particular variable. Okay, so if you're familiar with PHP, you will be knowing this, what is $_get. Okay, and I want to append the data. Okay, so the last one is file append. Okay, so that's it. This is the only thing that I require for this particular server. Okay, I save it and let's see what happens. Okay, but before that I have to now start the server. Okay, now to start the server I will go back to this, open git bash here. Okay, and PHP has a wonderful thing called self server. Okay, so I can run PHP -s the address 127.0.0.1 colon the port address, whichever port address you want, and you can see in the browser what port I have selected, 8889. Okay, so the same port I have to put over here, press enter, and now you can see PHP server is started. Okay, so let us try to run that and see whether it works or not. Okay, sign in as guest. Okay, it went there. Okay, let's come back to our data. Where was the data? Open this, open session.txt. Let's see if the data is there, and see I have the data recorded. Okay, so this website will be actually hosted somewhere else. Okay, just for demo purpose I'm hosting it here itself. Okay, so you can see every time I refresh. Okay, where is that page? Every time I refresh or I go, every time any user goes to this particular page where this message is there, that request is sent and that's his or her session ID is stored. Okay, so let me just show you. Let me close this, open it again, and you can see another session ID is stored. Okay, so now once I got the session ID, now how to log in using this? Okay, it's very simple. Just copy this. Okay, let's you have to copy the session ID part. Okay, the entire thing, copy, open the browser. Okay, now obviously I have already logged in. That particular user should not log out. If he logs out, then the session ID will not be valid. Okay, so this is happening live. Okay, so I will try open a new private tab. Okay, just to show that hacker is doing this on his browser. Okay, so he will open the same website, and when he opens the website you will see he is presented with a login form. He is not logged in, whereas this particular user who is being hacked, he is logged in. Okay, so now I want the hacker should also be able to log in with that person's user ID. Okay, so how to do that? Okay, so now if I try to go to index.php, which is the actual site, it again will come to, I think, login.php. Okay, you can see right now the user is not logged in. Okay, now how to log in? Just right click, inspect, go to console. Okay, in the console type document.cookie is equal to, inside quotes, paste the contents that you have copied. Okay, so let me just copy this contents, paste it. Okay, I don't know why. Okay, why? I don't know why it's not copying. I tried it. Is it saying something? Okay, So it is a security feature of I think Mozilla. Okay, so that's why it was not allowing. Okay, so I have just typed allow pasting, and now it is allowing me to paste. Okay, now after I do this, press enter. Okay, and now let us go to storage and check is the this thing saved. Okay, I think it is not yet executed. This console is slightly different. Okay, now it is executed. Now let us go to storage, and you can see what is the okay, let me just delete this, delete all. Or better, I can just copy this from here and paste it over here, because in Chrome it works easily, but here I think it is creating slight problem in Mozilla. Okay, so I will just do this, and now if I try to refresh, that means now if I try to go to index, I hope it works. Okay, I think the did the this thing changed. Let me run it again and find out what is the session ID. Okay, so the session ID, new session ID is this one. Okay, it is the same session ID. Okay, so let me try again. And security low. Now let me go to start.php, enter. I'm in. Okay, so I am in inside admin's account without even logging in. Okay, so this is called as session hijacking. Okay, so what I did is from here, the other page, this is the victim's page. The victim, I added that particular code. Okay, the new image wala code. Okay, and as soon as that happens, the data is sent to this particular server. You can see the incoming request. Okay, so and as soon as that is done, the data is stored inside this text file, and being a hacker, I will use this text file to hack the use this to change the session ID and log into the system. Okay, so that is how session hijacking is possible. Okay, now let us quickly, we have 6 minutes left, let us quickly find out how these attacks can be avoided. Okay, now this attack can be easily avoided by two things. First of all, again here sanitization is very important. Okay, so whatever you try to enter, okay, so you should sanitize your data. Okay, now how to sanitize? Okay, so now you can see the security level currently is impossible, and as soon as it is impossible, you are able to see what code was pasted there. Okay, so let us see how this is working. If you look at the source of this, and you can see what type of a technique they are using. Okay, so basically they are trying to remove any unwanted characters using this particular command, and they are running HTML special characters. Now you must have guessed it that why this attack is possible. That is because of these characters, this less than and greater than symbol. Because of this particular thing is possible. Okay, that creates any tag in HTML starts and ends with that, right? So if by some means I can remove this, okay, so that will solve the problem. Okay, so that is exactly what this particular technique HTML special character does. If I just take inspect element, you can see what actually, now here you will not be able to see. Okay, it actually replaces it with a HTML entity. Okay, so every character has an HTML entity, so this will be replaced by HTML entity. Okay, so that is how you can resolve uh, cross-site scripting attacks. Okay, as far as CSRF attacks are considered, uh, that is very easy to resolve. All you have to do is add a token. Okay, now one thing that they have done is change password should not be done unless they enter the current password. Okay, so that is a technique to resolve that URL issue. Whenever we run that URL, it changes the password. Okay, just a minute. Okay, so the main way to resolve CSRF is with the help of CSRF tokens. Okay, so what the server does, in fact, you must have observed this in our CMSys portal also. Some kind of a CSRF is added there. You must have seen after filling every form at the end, you have to add two numbers and find the solution to that. Okay, so that is basically my way of doing CSRF. Okay, because what happens is every time you refresh the page, you get a different code. Okay, so that is what is needed in CSRF checking. Okay, so the same form should not be repeated again. That means if I refresh this form right now, if I refresh this form, if there is no CSRF, the fields will remain static. Okay, there is nothing changed. So this particular type of page can be re-attacked any number of times. Okay, so that way you can use this particular software. That is, I wanted to show a lot of things about Zap also, but I don't have that much time. Only 2 minutes are left. So otherwise I could have shown this also. But one thing I would like to show is the automated scan part. Okay, so once you develop your website, I would suggest, this is a very wonderful tool that is used by majority of the developers. Okay, so what you have to do is you just have to click on automated scan and enter your address of your website and click on attack. Okay, so what it actually does is it it finds out what are the problems of your website. Okay, so it creates alerts. Okay, here you can see we have run this DVWA website, and it is telling me that there is no CSRF token and there are some other problems also. Cookie problem is there. Okay, so all these problems it will tell you, and your job will be to resolve it. Okay, so basically this particular web application is very important. Okay, if I get some time, I will show this to you in the WDL course also, how this security is maintained using this particular software. Okay, and just to conclude, you can see here also it is checking the token. Okay, user token. So token is the best way of handling cross-site request forgery. Okay, so that is it from my side. If there are any doubts, you can always ask in the forum, or you can personally message me also. Okay,